We are here today to do kind of a deep dive on La Crescenta Real Estate. And for that, I have our La Crescenta specialist, James Yu, with us. James, good to see you.
Good to see you, Dave.
So good to see you, my friend.
How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Really, really good. You know, we're pretty lucky. We got a beautiful Memorial Day weekend upon us.
It doesn't even feel like a holiday this week.
It does not feel like a holiday, but at least we're going to get some decent weather, and you could hang out and go to the parks now, and go outside and kind of get some fresh air, I guess.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Same here, same here. So let's go ahead and get started. James, go ahead and lead the way. James, by the way, grew up in La Cañada, is our specialist for the La Crescenta area and the areas around that. Knows it very, very well, and I think you're going to be extremely excited to hear what he's got to say for us. So I'll let you lead the way there, James.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so again, my name is James. Thank you for that intro, Dave. I grew up in the area, and welcome to the webinar. Very excited to cover, the city of La Crescenta and what's going on as far as the real estate here. And just to give you an overview of La Crescenta for those of you that aren't too familiar with it. So it's a city of about, I think, 20,000 people as far as population. So it's not a small city, nor a big city. And as far as the location wise, it's about 15 miles just north of, downtown LA. And it's a beautiful place surrounded by mountains, like the San Gabriel Mountains and Verdugo Mountains. It's an absolute beautiful place for nature. And it's known for, obviously, for their great schools. And it's popular, a very, very popular neighborhood for families. And, obviously, some people might feel like it's a little away from the LA scene, but, it's close to all the metropolitan convenience. Like, it's close to Glendale and Pasadena. And right now, obviously, when there's no traffic because of what's going on, you could actually get to downtown in like 15 minutes from La Crescenta. So,
right.
So people think it's like the small town all the way up north, but it really isn't. But obviously it's not the hotbed for like hipster lifestyle like Silver Lake or Highland Park. But I'm seeing a lot of many young families moving into the area right now, and and then like home, as far as homes, like great views are normal, and along with some wildlife. There's great parks, outdoor activities like hiking trails, and it's surrounded by nature. And it doesn't mean that there's nowhere to hang out. There's an area called Montrose Village. That's kind of like where I grew up and hung out. All the restaurants there and stuff. And it's a great little village, and they're known for their Sunday farmers market and things.
I've been there. It's fun.
Yeah. So it's a great area to hang out with your families and friends, but we'll go over those locations in a bit. But yeah, so welcome everybody. I'm going to cover a lot of I'm going to dive into La Crescenta as far as like the micro neighborhood of different areas of La Crescenta. And also we're going to go over like the schools, and also we're going to go over, the economics of the current real estate. So so let's start with the different neighborhoods of La Crescenta. This is an overall map of La Crescenta. For those that aren't too familiar with it, up here is the San Gabriel Mountain, and down to south is the Verdugo Mountain, and here's a 210 freeway, and down here there's a 2 freeway going north to south. So as far as I'll go over the boundaries as far as where La Crescenta is. Here is Lowell to the west, and this city is called Tujunga, and here is Briggs to the east, and this is La Cañada. And as far as, north to south, it is San Gabriel Mountain, and it starts from the 210 freeway and just a little south of it where Honolulu is. So these are all the different neighborhoods, and, I'll start with Pickens Canyon, because interesting enough, this is where the birthplace of La Crescenta was. And the Pickens Canyon, this is, Pickens Canyon was the birthplace for La Crescenta. It was where the first American settled here back in 1870, and his name was actually Theodore Pickens, and this is where the name kind of came from. And this is in Pickens Canyon. You'll see more of a bigger homes. That's and you'll get more land out here, more lot size. So this goes this is Briggs, and it goes from Foothill, and then Briggs takes you all the way to Briggs Terrace. And Briggs Terrace over here is a very interesting place as well. And this is a place for people that value nature. And the history behind here is there's a gentleman named Benjamin Briggs, who was a doctor who came here to study lung disease, cure for lung disease. He actually bought this 120-acre of land from Mr. Pickens back in 1880. So this is where the name comes from. It's very there's a lot of wildlife here, and it's very quiet and serene settings here. And interesting, there's actually a water tower that Mr. Briggs built, and it still remains here. So there's some historic facts there. And here is Pinecrest, and this is actually one of my favorite neighborhood of La Cañada. So just to kind of tell you, this is Foothill right here, and this is all going up. The map sees it as it looks like flat, but when you drive up, you're driving up the mountain over it. So Pinecrest is also another area with a lot of wildlife, but this area is known for an architect named Webster Wiley, who's known for building mid-centuries and atrium-style homes. And over here, you get an impeccable view of downtown, and it's a really, really awesome place here. And just south of it here is Mark Ridge, and over here, this is the center of La Crescenta. And the boundaries are from Rosemont to Pennsylvania. And this is the center of La Crescenta, and it's a really, really known, this is a good area known for their elementary schools, which we'll go over on the next few slides. And La Crescenta, south of Foothill, this is from Foothill to just north of 210 freeway. And we'll go over it on the next slide, but this is where we'll be able to find something really good. And just south of it is Verdugo City. It's the closest neighborhood to Montrose Village, just right here. Can you guys see my mouse?
Yes, we see the little arrow.
Yeah, I gotta figure that out, but I'll do that in a bit. So this is Montrose Village here, and Verdugo City. So there's a street called Montrose, and this is where all the townhomes, if you're looking for townhomes or condos, this is an area where you can find properties like that. So, and we'll go all the way up to Mark Ridge Estates. This is also deep up in the mountains, and this is a subdivision that was built in between the 1990s to 2000. And this is it's a subdivision. It's a private community and with like community amenities. But if you're looking for big homes with an awesome view, and you have a lot of cars and newer homes like Mediterranean 3-story homes, you'll find homes here that are like 3,000, 4,000 square foot homes, and with like 3 to 4 garage spaces. So that's a little subdivision of like 40 homes. And right here, this is where things get very interesting. And this area is called Crescenta Highlands North, Crescenta Highlands South. And if you, but people think, so this is part of La Crescenta, but the residents that live here actually write their city as Glendale. And it's also known as Glendale Annex. And the reason for that is the residents back in 1950s, they voted to be part of the city of Glendale to secure water supply. So this is an area where so all the utilities are with Glendale, like water, electricity, and also the police and fire services are all within the Glendale city. And if you're thinking about like renovating or doing some work to your house and need a pull permit, you actually need to go to the city of Glendale. So that's what's going on here. And yeah, this area is, so like as far as the type of homes, you kind of have the similar vibe, La Crescenta to Crescenta Highlands. You'll see a lot of ranch homes, traditional conventional homes, and you'll see a little bit of Tudor and Spanish sprinkled here and there. And those are kind of really rare to find. But yeah, typically, 1,500 to like 1,700 3-bedroom homes are typical in these areas. And then Crescenta Highlands South is a very interesting neighborhood of La Crescenta. This is actually a really good area if you're looking for like a cozy starter home. there's like a pocket here from like First Street to like Fifth Avenue. I think it's around here, where you'll be able to find a starter home, like a small, cozy home, like a 600 square foot to 1,000 square foot small home here, anywhere from like 600 to 800. And yeah, so if you're if you're looking for a starter first home, this will be an area I would recommend you search. And down here is another small area called Glenwood Oaks. I love this area because it's super private. There's only one way to get into this little pocket. This is through Boston Avenue. And this little pocket has about 90 homes. And they typically sit on a large lot. And you'll see a lot of homes being renovated. And they've done a lot of work to a lot of the homes here. And there's never traffic here. There's only one street here that goes in and out. And so it's very private, quiet, and
they have a lot of oak trees there, don't they?
Yes. It's surrounded by awesome trees and beautiful tree lines. And it's also next to the Crescenta Valley Park, which is also a huge park. Even if you look at the map, it's a huge park. And there's like a hiking trail, skate park, and cool things to do down there. So yeah, so that's like kind of like the general overview of different micro neighborhoods of La Crescenta. And yeah, if anybody have any questions.
Any questions so far? Nope, keep going.
Keep going, okay. All right, so the next slide is where we're gonna dive deep into where the good deals are and different pockets of the neighborhood as far as price point and things. So, all right, so let's go to the next slide. As far as La Crescenta itself, the general real estate, how the market's been in the last 12 months, there's been 281 homes that sold, an average sale price about $880. And it has an average price per square foot about $595. That's just kind of like a general overview of where real estate prices in La Cunada. And if you're looking for a deal in La Crescenta, there's a pocket here, which I mentioned earlier, just south of Foothill and north of the 210 freeway. And this is Briggs and Pennsylvania, west to east. So this little pocket, you'll be able to find like a good home, like 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom homes. They do sit on a smaller lot, but homes typically go anywhere from like 700 to like 800. So, and you're within the awesome school district there. And so 759. So that is compared to the general La Crescenta market. That's about, what is that, 120,000 below average price.
Wow.
So you'll be able to find good deals there. And Pickens Canyon is another interesting neighborhood. It's the oldest neighborhood of La Crescenta. You'll be able to find the lowest price per square foot, about $40 below average price per square foot here. And yeah, and then one thing I want to mention is my favorite neighborhood, Pinecrest. This is actually the most affluent area of La Crescenta. Homes, I've seen like average price, I think I would say about 1.2, 1.3 million area. And the last year, the highest sale in this area was like 1.8 out there. So, and again, this area is known for the Webster Valley architect and homes and mid-century. If you're looking for mid-centuries, this is an area I would highly recommend looking into.
Very interesting. Okay, cool.
So as far as real estate price goes, Crescenta Highlands North, La Crescenta Central are similar overall. And Crescenta Highlands South, as well as Verdugo City, is also another affordable neighborhoods of La Crescenta. And Glenwood Oaks is considered the higher price point because it's so private and it's surrounded by beautiful trees. So, and yeah, so that's as far as La Crescenta market, different segments, different parts neighborhood. This is kind of like the overview of it. And the next slide, which we'll share with you guys afterwards, we dove deep into each neighborhood as far as how many homes sold, average price per square foot in different areas. And one thing to mention, Verdugo City, this, like, as far as the condos and townhomes in Verdugo City, we broke it down here. The average price is about $690. We actually sold a 3-bedroom on Montrose, like we closed last week, right, Dave?
Mhm.
That one was about 1,700 square foot. It had views of Verdugo Mountains. That one we sold for $675 in the height of the pandemic. So that was an interesting sale. And
Yes, it was.
that was. So if you're looking for something of value and still be able to enroll your kids in the La Crescenta School District, that's an area where I would recommend looking as well. Yeah. So let's go over the school. This is my favorite part of today's presentation, because when I meet clients, like especially families, they want to know about the school. That's the number one thing that they ask me all the time. How is the school? How is the school? Right. So La Crescenta, just one fun fact is that throughout the whole America, throughout the whole U.S., there are 9,000 blue ribbon schools, and just in La Crescenta, there are 6 total blue ribbon schools. So it's very well known for its school, public school, and academic performance. And this map is just to show you where the boundaries are for different school district. And I'll point out a few things for each school district and what each schools are known for real quick. So these are all the elementary schools here: Mountain, Monte Vista, all the way to La Crescenta. And there's one middle school called Rosemont, and there's a high school, Crescenta Valley High School, and also a second high school called Clark High School, magnet school. It's a magnet school. And Rosemont, so I'll go over, I'll point out a few things about each elementary school. So yeah, so the ones in blue are the blue ribbon school. And if you see below it, these are the gradings for each school. And the data is off of gradeschools.com. And I'll start with Mountain Elementary. As far as the border is from Briggs here, and then it actually extends out to La Cañada. It extends out to La Cañada. So, and it's 10 out of 10. And right next to it is Monte Vista Elementary. This is actually one of the schools that I plan to send my kid to, if in the future. It's an awesome elementary school. So there's only 2 elementary school in the Glendale Unified School District that offers a dual language immersion program. What that is that they actually teach half the school is in English classes, and the other half is taught in the language that they select. And then they have 7 languages that they offer, which are from Spanish, German, French, and all the way out to Korean and Armenian. So it's an awesome school, and they're known for their academic performance. They have the highest academic performance out of all the elementary in La Crescenta. And Valley View is actually another really good elementary school here. And this is so I think as far as Valley View, they have the most academic progress year to year. So this is an area, a really good school. I know some people that live within the Monte Vista Elementary boundary, they actually send their kids to Valley View because it's more diverse as far as the kids that go there. And here is Dunsmore Elementary, which is from Lowell, and then to the east it goes out to New York here, and they have the lowest student per teacher. So that's a fun fact about Dunsmore. And Abraham Lincoln is a 9 out of 10 school, and I love this area because this is a good area if you have a really young one, like a young kid, and you're thinking about elementary school, and you're under a certain budget. This is where you could find a starter home and still send your kid to a 9 out of 10 elementary school. And this is an area I would definitely recommend if you're starting out a family. And and this is La Crescenta Elementary, and this is in the center of La Crescenta here by the 210 freeway. And I would, if your kid is out of elementary and need to go to middle school or in high school, this is an area I would recommend looking, because this is most bang for your buck as far as your purchase.
Yeah, yeah, that's really something. Middle and high school is really tough. There are, like, look here, you have all these options of 9 and 10 elementary schools, but finding a 9 middle school, wow,
Yeah.
that's really hard.
Right.
So,
Right. So Rosemont is a really good school. Both Rosemont, Crescenta Valley are 9 out of 10. It's not on this map here, but as far as the boundary for these schools, they actually extend all the way out to Glendale. It, it extends south as far as like Oakmont and Verdugo Woodlands,
Yeah.
which is not covered on this map, but it's a huge boundary. So if you live in Glendale, and you're thinking about sending your kid to one of these schools, you could come back. I'll be happy to check the boundary for you to see, if you fall within the school district. So yeah, these are all the different schools and pointers for each school. Hopefully that was helpful. And then we'll cover some fun stuff as far as how the real estate prices for each school district, because it gets really interesting here. So on the next slide here.
before you continue, I'm going to just send out a little poll real quick, because some of the data and information we have is about buying and some of it is about selling as we move forward. So I'm going to send out a little poll to everybody to ask if you are curious about knowing information about buying or selling or both. So go ahead and answer that if you can, so we can gear the rest of our data correctly. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll go over some prices of different school districts here. So this is the average price in each elementary school district.
Wow,
Right?
that's really interesting. I love this slide.
Yeah, you see the difference here?
Yep.
So I'll kind of explain what's going on here as far as the different price point. Obviously, Mountain Elementary shows that it's the highest price. But as far as the Mountain Elementary boundary, it actually extends out to La Cañada. So obviously home prices are a bit higher in La Cañada, hence the reason for a higher price point. And also note that there is an ongoing territory transfer between Glendale Unified School and La Cañada Unified School, because right here there's an area called Sagebrush just by Ocean View. So this area, the address, if you look at the address, is under La Cañada, but the kids that live here actually still go to Crescenta Valley for high school. But so what they're doing is they're trying to vote so that the kids that lives here goes to La Cañada High School. So that's kind of like what's going on. So if you're looking to buy here in the area, thinking you could go to La Cañada High School, you want to make sure you check and things like what's going on with the school here. So that's something to watch out for. And so concerning that, I would say like the Monta Vista Elementary is the most sought after because of the highest academic performance. And obviously, again, I mentioned that they have that dual language immersion program, which is highly sought after. And obviously, that's the reason why I am trying to get into this little pocket of La Crescenta. And the average price is 1.1. So honestly, I'm trying to find something cheaper than that. But hopefully I'll be able to find something before my kids before she goes to elementary. So 1.1, Valley View is 900, Dunsmore is 850. And again, I mentioned earlier, Abraham Lincoln, 825. And this is a 9 out of 10 school.
That seems like the best deal there, right?
Yeah, as far as if you're comparing school to real estate price.
Yeah.
Yes. And over here is 750 for La Crescenta Elementary. And we did sell a house right here last year on Alabama.
Yep, I remember.
In the Valley View. That was a very interesting sale as well. So yeah, these are all the different home prices. These are just general. Again, these are like general maps. I could get very specific as far as the street and what these cover. And if you're looking to get into a specific school, and if you're searching for a home within that boundary, I'll be more than happy to help you. So, and yeah, let's see if anybody had any questions.
Yes. Anybody out there with any questions? Someone send me a private message. They want to know, if you don't live in the Monte Vista, but you live in one of the other, like Dunsmore, could you send your child to Monte Vista?
No. The thing is, you could, but it takes you got to be on the waiting list. Yeah.
So it's not a guarantee, but you might get lucky.
Yeah. Well, you have if you're in the Monta Vista Elementary, you have priority.
Right.
Or you're in. So without having to wait. And entry is like seven years. So, you know.
Okay, very good. Let's see, there's another question. All right, so go ahead and kill your screen share.
Okay.
All right, so we had several people who wanted information because they're sellers. They own a home and they're thinking of selling it. So one of the things we wanted to go over was how to sell your home as is, which is kind of a big hot button, because if you're a homeowner and you put your house on the market and you get an offer and you're very excited, and then you kind of come to the realization that the buyer's agent and the buyer is going to have inspections. And if your house, unless it's either brand new or recently completely redone, but the average house, 50, 60 years old, it's going to have issues. There are going to be things wrong with the average 50-year-old house. There's just no way around it. Maintenance issues kind of build up. And the parts of a house that kind of end up causing problems for the seller in the inspection are typically the sewer line, the chimney, the foundation, and the roof, and the electrical and plumbing systems. Would you agree with that, James?
Yes, I know very well about sewer.
Exactly. It's the things that the buyer can't see. When they walk through your house, they can see, oh, well, I got to redo the kitchen a little bit. So they're factoring that into their price, or I got to redo the bathroom a little bit, and they're adjusting that as they're going through the house. But then they have the inspections and they're shocked that they have, there might be a $20,000 sewer line or a $10,000 chimney, and they will look to the seller to fix that item or credit them money for that item because they feel like it was a surprise. Okay. Nobody likes a surprise in a real estate transaction. Nobody. Surprises are only for birthdays. Okay. But in a real estate transaction, James and I do our best to eliminate surprises. So what we recommend is if you're selling your home, to have a pre-inspection of your home. And this could be a general inspector coming and giving a report, but we also suggest having the chimney inspected. That's about $150. Having the sewer line inspected, it's about $250. Maybe having the foundation inspected, especially if you're up in the hills with an older foundation, okay? Maybe having the electrical or plumbing inspected. And a few $100s in inspections will help you, and here's how. We don't recommend you do the work. That's not what this is about. But when the buyer writes an offer, there's a good chance we're going to counter it. In fact, there's a 100% chance we're going to counter it.
100%.
Even if the offer is over asking, we're probably going to counter it for you because there's usually another term or something else that needs to be clarified in the counter offer. And when we give them that counter offer, we're going to give them the reports. And we're going to ask them to counter back to us with a certain price, or maybe it's called a best and final counter offer. But we're going to give them those reports. And by doing that, we're disclosing that these issues exist, and we're taking them off the table so they're no longer negotiable. And then the buyer is going to have those documents, make their decision, and come back to you with a price, knowing full well about the conditions that might exist. And there you have sold your house as is. And it's all because you took away the surprise, no bad news, and we educated the buyer at the right moment. And we've been very, very good at selling a home that, for example, we had a house not far from La Crescenta that had a broken sewer line, and it was a $20,000 repair. The sewer line was broken in the street, and we did not fix it, but we disclosed it to the buyer, and the buyer was okay with it. So it's really delicate how it's done, but when it's done properly, it saves the seller tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Any questions about that? That's kind of a little known secret of how to sell your house as is.
And not to leave any money on the table.
No, not leaving any money on the table. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and screen share and.
Yeah, let's talk about, what's going on in the real estate market. Everyone, I get this question all the time.
Yes. Let me go, where am I? Okay, Let me get to present mode. There we go. So first thing I want to say is welcome to the recession of 2020. We are definitely in a recession. And what that means is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, which is gross domestic product. And Q1 was negative. Q2 will be negative. They're gonna come out with that information after June, but we're confident that we'll be in the midst of a recession. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you look at history, these are the last 5 recessions, and home values, home prices only came down in 2 of them. Of course, most recently was the Great Recession, which was in 2008, where home prices fell 19, almost 20%. But before that, it was only 1991 where home prices fell just a little bit. And in the other 3 recessions, home prices actually went up. So it's important to remember that recession does not mean price reduction. Okay, but people want to know, will there be another crash like 2008? Excuse me. And I think to understand the answer to that, it's important to understand what happened back then and what's happening now and how they're different. This slide illustrates how easy it was for someone to get a loan back in 2006 and 7, for example. In 2006, this measured the affordability index, availability index at 868, okay? Comparatively, today it's at 181. Now, I know those numbers don't mean a lot to the layman, but it just means it's not nearly as easy to get a mortgage as it was in 2006 and 7. Back then, no income, nothing. You just signed your name and you basically got a mortgage.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it really was. Okay. Now, I love this slide because it really said, I think it tells us that we learned our lesson, to be honest with you. And in 2005, 6, and 7, Americans took out $824 billion in equity from their homes in cash out refinance. And in the previous 3 years before today, they've only taken out $232 billion, which means we have not lived on our homes like ATM machines. And that's exactly what they were doing in the mid 2000s. And that's one of the things that led up to the big crisis that we had. Okay. In 2007, the average interest rate was 6.4%. And I mean, if any buyer had to get a loan today with 6.4%, they would say, no way, absolutely not.
No way.
Yeah. Funny story though, when we refinanced one of our properties, we got a loan at 6.5%. And I told my wife, because back then it was like a historically low interest rate. I said, we'll have this loan forever, honey. Yeah, right. So what's it like today? Today, the average interest rate's about 3.25%. So half of what it was.
Yes.
And Americans are sitting on more equity in their homes than ever had, ever. In fact, 53% of all houses in the United States have at least 50% equity. 30% of them are owned free and clear. So we've never had more equity available. Back in 2006, a buyer was spending 25% of their income to purchase a home. And today, they're only spending 14, almost 15% of their income to buy a home. And the reason for that is mostly interest rate, because the interest rate is so low right now. Okay, so we talk a lot about, and maybe you've heard terms like, is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? Well, there's actually a definition for these things that doesn't get said too often. But a neutral market is about 6 months, okay? And if houses are taking less than 6 months to sell, if they're selling quickly, less than 6 months, then it's a seller's market. If houses are selling and taking longer than 6 months, then it's a buyer's market. Now, this is a national statistic, so I like to say to bring this locally, cut that in half, okay? Our markets run a little bit differently, but I think in La Crescenta, for example, if a house is taking over 3 months to sell, then that's probably a seller's market. And I don't mean a house, I mean houses in general. If the average house in La Crescenta takes 3 months or more to sell, that's a buyer's market.
Buyer's market.
It's less than 3 months to sell, that's a seller's market. And we have been measuring home sales in weeks. They have been selling literally in weeks in La Crescenta. Okay, so there's an old saying that says there's never a bad time to buy a home. However, there can be a bad time to sell it. And I want to tell you a little story. And this is a client of mine who paid $855,000 for her home in 2006. Okay, and by 2012, her home was only worth $700,000. She had bought it almost at the peak of the market in 2006, and by 2012, the house was only worth $700,000. So many people walked away from their home because of this bad news, but she held on to it. And 4 years later, in 2016, she sold that home for $876,500. Funny story, this house that I'm talking about is here in Glendale. And she sold that home so she could move up to La Crescenta, where the schools are better. And she ended up renting a house up in La Crescenta, sending her kids to Monte Vista. And she was happy that she was able to get out of her house. Well, that house today is worth $1,150,000. So sure, if she had held on to it, she paid $855 for it, it'd be worth $1,150,000 today, but she needed to move her family to La Crescenta, so she made the right move. But the important part is it was okay. She bought it at the peak. 10 years later, she was fine. So there's sometimes a bad time to sell a house. When it's that time, don't sell it. Okay. This is a pretty shocking statistic, and it measures the net worth of a homeowner versus a renter over the age of 65. And for people who are homeowners, they have a net worth of $319,000. But unfortunately, for the same aged person who does not own a home but who rents only, they only have a net worth of $6,700. So, a lot of people say, well, is a home really a good investment? Yes, absolutely. Even if you break it down to a home is just a forced savings account that increases in value, great, I'll take it, that's fine. When you look at this statistic, shocking difference between the net worth of homeowners and non-homeowners. So please know that if you're renting, you are actually paying a mortgage. It's just not yours, okay? Let's talk about job losses. That's a real big conversation that's going on in the news right now. It's incredibly shocking. I think I heard 38 million people right now are unemployed in the United States. And these are from March 21st, how many people filed for unemployment benefits. And this only ends on May 9th, so there's another week and a half behind this. Most of these people are in the food and bar industry, 37%, and then 10% retail and temporary services, and then other industries as well. Now, the good news, if there's any such thing as good news when you're talking about unemployment, is that it's believed that 90% of the people who are unemployed, it's only temporary, and they will get their jobs back. So that's an incredibly important fact to remember, is that the unemployment that we hear about is largely temporary, okay? And when you're talking about unemployment, it's important to look at not just how many people are unemployed, but for how long. And back in the Great Depression in the early 1930s, we had 6 years of terrible unemployment. And in the Great Recession of 2008, there were 3 consecutive years of terrible unemployment. And right now, we're at 15% unemployment, but I think when this COVID thing is over, we're going to look back and there's going to be like 20% unemployment, maybe 25. But if 90% of that is temporary unemployment, then we should see 2021 come back down quickly to like 6 to 8% of unemployment, and then continue down from there. So this is not the Great Recession or the Great Depression, okay? The major financial institutions are calling for this to be more of a V kind of recovery. And they see these are first quarter was down, second quarter is down, third and fourth quarters, they see positive GDP, which is going to end our recession. So it should be a short recession. This is a very interesting slide. It talks about showings. Now, realtors use lockboxes, and this data comes from the amount of lockboxes that are being accessed and opened to show homes throughout the country. And if you see how January 12th, 21st, up until about the beginning of March, it was doing really well. And then literally after March 3rd or 5th, around there, boom, it fell like a stone. And by the end of March, it was down tremendously. But it's been rising steadily. And as of May 11th, so almost a week and a half ago, it is back beyond where it was the beginning of the year. So, houses are being sought out more by buyers now than they were a month ago, for sure. This is a national statistic, so Los Angeles County is a little bit slower than this because we're not a completely open state or county, and there are other counties that are more open than we are. But we're getting there, okay? And the worst is behind us. Okay. And new listings and pending sales have also increased week over week of May 12th. New listings were up 6%, and pending sales, this is important, were up 7%. So there you go. And I'm going to go ahead and quit the share. Does anybody have any questions about what's going on, like on a national level with our economy and with respect to real estate? Okay, cool. James, why don't you answer the question of what's going on locally in the La Crescenta real estate?
Absolutely. So we have prepared a slide for that. So as far as we gotta figure out this screen share again. Can you guys see that?
Yes, you're sharing.
Okay, I need to go on present. Yeah, so this is La Crescenta real estate market. This is a comparison as far as how has the COVID-19 affected the market in La Crescenta. So this is stats from last year, April 22nd and to May 22nd. And you'll see the number of homes that sold
30.
30 homes back in last year compared to this year, whereas it's 16 homes, which is significant. About 50% less, half the homes, as far as level of the inventory, is half the homes compared to last year. I think this is just an opinion, but that has to do with some fear of a lot of sellers pulling their house off the market.
Yep.
and postponing it.
Yep.
And then, but the good thing is that the price held up compared to last year. It actually went up by about $30,000 on average, as far as the average sale price. So the market did not dip. I get this question a lot. A lot of my clients are asking, has the market gone down? But it hasn't. Especially like a destination like La Crescenta, where it is geared towards family lifestyle, and it's very interesting. So so the price never dipped in La Crescenta, but the thing is, and another thing about the lack of homes being on sale is because in La Crescenta, a lot of the demographic is an older generation to generation population. So a lot of these homes are older homes. A lot of seniors live in the neighborhood, so they're the ones at high risk. So there are some fear, related to that. So hence the reason for lack of homes on the market. But this is just the last couple of weeks. I did see a lot of homes come on the market. It's just kind of all of a sudden. Like in April, it was like 1 or maybe 4 homes a week. Just in the last 2 weeks, I saw 16 homes on the market come up. And then there was a beautiful Spanish orange that came on the market Monday and just got picked up in like 3 days, and it was like 1.3 million. So people are coming back, and a lot of young families want to live here. It's just we don't have the homes to sell. So it's just kind of like what's going on. And La Crescenta in general always had a very low turnover as far as homes. Meaning what turnover is. So La Crescenta had about 3.5% turnover rate. And what that means is that every year, 3 to 4 homes out of 100 homes come on the market. So it always had a lack of inventory, hence the reason for the real estate price keep on going up. Just a simple economic supply and demand.
Interesting. Well, that's good to know. I mean, that is a tremendous drop off in volume, but I guess not surprising.
Right, right. So, but I do feel that right now, because of the interest rate, there seems to be a very high pent-up demand amongst buyers.
Mhm.
So multiple offers are becoming the norm again, pre-COVID. And I do feel a lot of buyers are over the fears and they're out there shopping.
We have a question.
And the sellers.
How long is it taking to sell a home in La Crescenta right now? And are homes sitting longer?
Okay. Sorry, could you repeat that question? I couldn't.
How long are homes taking to sell in La Crescenta? And are homes?
Oh, great question. Great question. So it was taking long in April. So right after the stay-at-home order was ordered, like there was like a really odd time where people were just looking at homes online, not actually seeing it in person, right? So so it was sitting on the market for a while, but like I mentioned, like there was a home on Orange Street that came on the market just this week, and I'm seeing much more activity right now. I'm seeing more escrows. I'm seeing more homes going under contract, and I think as far as the time on the market, we are getting closer to the pre-COVID status. So
It's also a little hard to track too because the MLSs have stopped, some of them have stopped counting days on the market, so they're not letting those accumulate. And I think we've seen a reduction in the amount of buyers that are looking because people are in stay at home. You know, and people are experiencing this differently. There are people who, you know, they haven't left their house in 10 weeks and they haven't been out at all. And then there are other people who are venturing out and and conducting business more than others. So there were less buyers looking, but there are less houses for them to see. So there's been this strange kind of proportional reduction in buyers and homes that has still caused prices to hold up and houses to sell. We really don't need 15 offers on a house. Okay, that just means you have 14 really disappointed people. So if we get a house on the market, if we get 2 buyers, 2 good offers, that's all we need, even 1. But I mean, if you want to build a little bit of a bidding war, then you need 2.
And I do feel like the spring market is going to transition to summer this year.
Yeah.
Like no one's gonna go fly and go on vacation this year, obviously. So,
Well, that's a good answer for the next question. Someone's asking, is now a good time to put a house on the market to get the most money for it?
if I had to answer, absolutely yes. It's just simple, again, supply and demand, and buyers are out there shopping because of the low interest rate. They definitely want to take advantage of it. It's just the interest rate is historical. It's at a historical low right now, and I read somewhere it was the lowest since 1971.
Yeah.
So buyers out there are typically, they have more buying power. They could buy more. Hence the reason for activities going up lately.
Yeah, back in mid-March, right when we were going into the stay-at-home order, my advice to sellers was to wait. Okay, wait.
Right.
Collectively, I think real estate had a lot of conversations with clients saying, no, we think right now is a bad time. Mid-March to mid-April, probably not a great time to be on the market.
Even in April, we didn't even know how to show a home because of all these guidelines.
Right. So today, fast forward to May 20th or so, yes, I would say the answer to that question is right now, put your house on the market. The spring market paused and it's coming up now and it's going to hit in the summer. Do you think buyers are looking for more move-in ready homes or fixer-uppers is a question we have from the group.
If we're talking about La Crescenta, they like more of a move-in ready because a lot of the young families that are moving in have kids. So typically they don't want to move into a house and have to do work while living there. Mm-hmm. But I mean, fixer uppers are a hot commodity as far as La Crescenta. there's a lot of investors and clients that are always looking there. But as far as if you're talking about people that are moving, like the demographic, they prefer obviously a move-in ready home.
Now, if you have a house though that does need some work, there are things that you can do to kind of really greatly improve the value of your home. And I'll tell you a quick story. We listed a house here in Glendale that was about 1,600 square feet, 3 bedrooms, fixer-upper. It needed everything. Broken sewer line, needed new kitchen, new baths. It was a fixer-upper. The house right next door, same deal, was a total fixer-upper, okay? And what we did with this one, though, is we staged it, and we just cleaned it up a little bit. We took really beautiful photographs, and we ended up selling that house, that fixer-upper house. We listed it for $950, and we sold it for $1,050,000. So we got $100,000 over asking. The house next door, they didn't do anything to. They wouldn't dress it up or anything. They took terrible pictures, and they listed it for $840, and they got $870. Honestly, the houses were pretty comparable to each other. So a lot of it is just in how you present the house. You don't have to redo the house, but one thing we're really good at is helping your house shine a bit.
Exactly. Making a good product, pretty much,
You got it.
to the buyers.
Here's how do I know what work to do to my house that will give me ROI? Give ROI, and what work is a loser. Okay, so what work should you and shouldn't you do? It's not a good idea to flip your own house. Okay, we definitely don't want you to flip your own house. Don't redo the kitchens, don't redo the baths. But some, like paint, is highest ROI. Okay, if the exterior of your house has peeling paint or the interior of the house has peeling paint, paint has the highest ROI. And the next after that is strategic staging, okay? We have designers that come in and they'll take your house with your own current furniture and they'll redesign it. And James has used her several times. She's amazing.
It's amazing, yeah.
She has turned houses that, because you know what, when you live in a house for 20 years, for example, you tend to just live in it in a way that's comfortable and convenient. But when you go to sell it, you kind of have to throw away comfort and convenient and just adjust things so that they're a bit more appealing. And I'm talking about adjusting your own furniture, not getting in new furniture. So that's another extremely high ROI. And there's a question here. Okay, we got that.
Yeah, obviously we have contacts and really good people that we work with, designers to like handymen. So
yes, I would highly recommend. I would highly recommend a little consultation with James, and he'll be able to go over all the resources that we have to help your house shine. What else you got for us, please?
Yeah, so let's go over. This is a very important question, important thing that I get a lot. Questions I get a lot these days. It's like, because of what's going on with the pandemic, how do you buy or sell during? All right, so how do you buy a home during the stay-at-home order? And I'm actually right now, I get this question a lot, and obviously we need to make sure we work for the safety of the public. There's a lot of things that we need to do in order to be able to show a home now. But like again, I was mentioning back in April, we didn't even have much guideline as to can we even show a home. But now we have a very clear, concrete guideline as to what we need to do. So can you guys, you guys can see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Can you guys see? Okay. So yeah, I'm actually out there showing homes quite like every weekend during the week, but it's just there's a few more steps. And obviously there's no more open houses right now. So there's no open houses that you could go to on the weekend. So well, a lot of open houses are happening virtually online, including like we are doing our open houses online right now, virtually. And pretty much what the buyers need to do is make sure they view all the photos. If there's any property video, they want to make all the sellers and the listing agent are making sure they view the video. And also this is called Matterport tours. This is the 3D tour, the online virtual tour that's becoming more common right now. So a lot of listings that are coming on the market, they actually have this feature called 3D virtual tour, which is a Matterport, where it's like a dollhouse, and as online you could actually walk through every corner of the house to like backyard to the front, every room. So what a lot of sellers are requesting right now is for the buyers to do all these stuff and then drive by the home before entering their house. So these are like few more steps that are happening right now. And also do a FaceTime if your agent is available, have them go and do a walkthrough with you with FaceTime or Zoom or some other technology. And then after that, you could do a controlled you could schedule a private showing with the listing agent. And there is a one document that every buyer needs to sign, including the agents or anybody else. If you bring your parents, all your parents need to sign this form called Coronavirus Property Entry Advisory. It's pretty much like a coronavirus waiver, like no hold harmless waiver that both the seller, the agent, and the buyer needs to sign, just to make sure it's just to let them know what coronavirus is and to have no liability with each other. So that's so you have to sign that for every property that you enter. So you want to make sure your agent is aware of that, or else make sure take that step. And then if there's like for instance, if you want to look at some income property with a tenant in there, it's really hard to see those properties these days, but you can make an offer subject to inspection, and then if they accept it, you could go see it. But subject to inspection doesn't mean that you could always come. Let's say you go see the property and you like it, you could just come right out of the deal, pretty much. That's what subject to inspection is. And so here is a question: what should I do now? Right. So this is a very interesting time right now. Especially La Crescenta, it's a very desirable neighborhood city for family. And if you're thinking about making a move out there and you don't know specifically where you should be looking at based on your budget, the type of if you're thinking about how much loan you could get, we're here for you, and we're happy to give you do like a Zoom session like this, do a consultation, and walk through the whole home buying process. And it's more important than ever to have an agent as a buyer to know what the right all the steps that they needed, all the guidelines that they need to take, especially during these times. And as a seller, it's like again, Dave was talking about April, March. We were kind of telling our clients to let's wait and see. But I think right now it is a really, whether you're going to sell tomorrow or next year in 3 years, and you're just curious about the value of your home, we'll be happy to meet with you, give you a free home evaluation, and also some tips and guidance like what Dave was doing earlier, how to improve your ROI for the future. And again, happy to connect you with any contractors or handyman as well if you're thinking about doing some work. And we are. My number is not on the Zoom screen, but we'll be sending out an email to everybody that participated today with our contact info. So I would love to get together. If I need to see your preview, if initially we could do a Zoom, and then if we need to further look at your house, we'll be happy to come by with our mask on and glove on. And
the new stuff.
Yep.
Buying a house or selling a house is not an event. It is a process, and it has many steps. And we would be happy to hold your hand on that step and get you going in the right direction, however long that process is for you. But let's start with some really good information first, so you can make the right decision. All right. Anything else? Everyone is saying thank you. Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us. James?
Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Dave. I hope to, be a good resource for everybody, and hopefully everybody stays safe and have a good Memorial Day weekend.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Take care.